and welcome to a new episode of Digging Deep and Oki 811 podcast. I'm your host, Luis, along with my colleague, William Bohannon.
Hello.
Today we have a special guest. Her name is Mell Greenall, CEO of BYDA. Before you dig Australia, we're really connecting to the other side of the world. Hello, Mell. Thank you for being here with us today. We appreciate taking the time. I know in Australia it's Friday, right?
It
9
is.
a.m. And here is Thursday, 4 p.m.
Exactly.
So that's the beauty of the world. How are you? And again, thanks for being here with us.
Thanks so much for having me. It is Friday here in Australia, and we've just finished hosting our first utility safety conference here, our national safety conference focusing on damage prevention. So it's been a big week, but of course I wanted to make time to come and speak to you guys.
Thank you, Mell. Mell, let's start right away. Tell us about you, who you are, your experience in the industry, how you started, and what BYDA is.
Yeah, so I'll start with Before You Dig Australia. We are the national body or peak body for damage prevention here and safe excavation practices. Probably a bit equivalent to your CGA in some ways, in sense of being that overall body. But we also then deliver the referral service, which is our version of your Call Before You Dig. And we run that for every state in Australia. So there is only one entity here in Australia. It's us, and we cover the entire country. And we're a unified approach nationally. So that's a little bit different to how the 811s work, I know, over there. So there's some elements of that I'm happy to chat through. Me personally, I've been the CEO of Before You Dig Australia for 5 years now, and my background is in construction and various formations around that space, and doing a lot of advocacy, a lot of lobbying work with our members and that sort of space. So I came into Before You Dig with a really strong understanding of contractor pressures in the building industry, and it's been really wonderful to be able to have that voice at the table alongside of our utility pressures and all of the governmental constraints and challenges that I know you guys face as well, and try to bring that together.
So let me get this straight. So BYDA does work under a law in Australia, correct?
No.
No.
So
okay.
we work...
So similar like Ellis Butt in England or United Kingdom. They don't have a law. They don't have a law that enforces the call.
A little bit
before you
different
dig.
again. So for those of you that know Australia well, we're actually 7 states and territories. And so we have a federal system that sits at the top. Then we have state legislation that's different in each state. So in New South Wales, which is one of our states on the East Coast, we do have a law that mandates Before You Dig Australia.
Oh, wow.
In other states, not quite as explicit. And then we are named under work health and safety legislation around an inferral that you must use us. So it's implied, but it's not explicit. So it's a quirky little space down here. Yes, strongly recommended.
Okay. So BYDA, so you guys are located in Melbourne, correct? BYDA.
Our head office is in Melbourne, but we have a team in every state.
Okay, so in those states where the law is they do have the law, how does that work with BYDA, like alone, like as a organization?
So we take the same approach in every state. So we don't have a call center like you guys do. It's not based on a call in and organize a locate or anything like that. Our system runs totally online. So we have a Before You Dig portal where, as a contractor or as a homeowner, you jump in, you do your search, and then we pull through all of the utility plans that are relevant to your job site. We consolidate that into a pack and we send it through. So here in Australia, you actually get the plans, you get the location plans so that you can then go and do your risk assessments, you can then organise your locate, and you can dig safely. And we take that approach nationally. We issue about 2.2 million plans a year through our platform. And as I said, even though it's not mandated in each state, here in Australia, we've been around for over 40 years now. It is well accepted that this is best practice, and our contractor community absolutely use our service, and we have really good, as I said, compliance with how we work. Hence why we've had 8% year-on-year growth of use of our service over the last 10 years, and we'll hopefully crack that 2.5 million either this year or next year.
So there's a great culture within construction workers and excavators.
There is,
understanding how it works.
I think there's appreciation for the risk around working near utilities. And part of the other part that Before You Dig Australia does is education. So, as part of my team in every state, we have an education arm, and we deliver every year over 1,000 toolbox talks to the industry. We're getting out there, we're doing grassroots conversation, and that's just part of our DNA. We absolutely believe that having the plans is one thing, but helping ensure that the industry understands what they're reading and how to interpret those plans is just as important. So we really have a huge focus on that as well.
That's incredible. And hearing that growth and the amount of toolbox talks that y'all do is really cool and inspiring for us, I think, because we're pushing for more of that outreach and definitely trying to engage more of homeowners as well as industry professionals. And so I noticed something interesting in kind of how you're phrasing your system operating, where you provide those utility maps to whenever there's a request. Would that then fall into getting a private locator to come in and mark the lines? Okay.
So here, locating it's the responsibility of the people breaking ground to get a locate out. It's not the responsibility of the utility, which would probably excite your utility members over there to say, oh my gosh, imagine a world.
So we... Over the paradise.
So we have reverse kind of engineered that process a little bit to say that it is the onus of the contractor. So here in Australia, what you will see is a lot of our tier 1 and tier 2, or the big end of town contractors, will have their own utility trained employees on team, and they'll go out and locate and manage that internally. In terms of our homeowners here, it is optional. It's not a legal requirement to have a locator out. But here in Australia, what we also find is that over 50% of our users in any given year are mums and dads. So we have really good uptake of mums and dads using the system and then using that to map their site. So I just dropped my headphone there. So that's me not me having a weird twitch, me dropping a headphone.
No, I thought you had a mosquito.
So we have a good uptake in that space, and we have really good compliance with the use of the system.
So let me get this straight. So if I am an excavator, or if I have the intention to dig, I go to the portal on BYDA, the website. I'll put what you guys call a locking request or ticket, or just you guys have a definition?
Just a job request. Literally just a job request. Yeah.
So I put in the information. It goes through a channel. Does it get reviewed by actual people, or it just goes straight the information to the utility operator?
Straight through. So it's fully automated now. So we have plugins with all of our members to be able to connect with either their GIS system directly, or for some of our members, we host that data through our system. So basically we have what's called areas of interest that our utility owners host within the back end of our platform. So as you would type in your job site, our system will recognize which utilities are active in that area. It pings. It pulls through the data sets back in, formulates it and subsets. And that all happens in about 5.5 minutes on average is our performance time. In some regional areas, it might take a couple of hours, but we're really proud of the fact that we can get you information within minutes so that you can go out and work safely.
And how long does it take for the location and marking of the underground? Here, it takes about 48 hours. That we give to the locators to actually go ahead and mark, right? I mean, you call, the day that you call or notify us doesn't count, so you have to wait 48 hours after that, and then you should be able to have your underground marked and located, correct? And then you can start digging safely without breaking the law in that way.
So again, because a locator here in Australia is an optional part of that service. So again, if you're a construction company and you've got your own skilled team, you can do it straight away. You're not waiting on somebody to come out and do it, because that's part of their team. It's part of their engineering processes. So in terms of that time constraint, it's just really is around how quickly, if they want to book a private provider to come in and do it, but that's just, they negotiate that timeline. But it doesn't hold up the job, so to speak. Like you could get your plans in the morning and be digging by lunchtime.
Oh, wow. Yeah, that's
really cool.
Time effective.
Right.
Do you guys have anything? I know you guys don't have, per se, like a law nationwide, but when it comes to gas lines, pipelines. Do you guys have some sort of like protocol or law, a little, I guess, more carefully that people have to follow more of a carefully a protocol when it comes to that, or?
Absolutely. So our larger gas members who are operating transmission lines, so those large, high pressure, huge transmission lines across the country, absolutely have best practice protocols. So when a referral comes in with us and it pings that it's near one of those high risk assets, the organisations such as APA will actually call that inquiry to say, hey, we've just seen your referral come in. We just want to double check what you're doing. If it's just design work, okay, is there any actual physical risk to the asset? And if those companies then determine based on that conversation there is a physical risk to the asset, or it may be in the encroachment zone, they will then request that one of their spotters be on site to then be there for the job. And they'll coordinate with the contractor to book that spotter in to make sure that there's full visibility of that high risk work occurring. Here in Australia also, where those pipelines are crossing homeowner land, there's excellent, homeowner engagement around, them working with the property owners to maintain that pipe and ensure that there's full visibility of any maintenance work required. So we are really proud of the fact that here in Australia, we have not had a significant incident or a catastrophic event on a gas line here in Australia. We're really proud of that safety track record, and we absolutely are committed to maintaining that.
That's wonderful to hear. And I think that is really a testament to the damage prevention culture there as well, is that not having really anything major like that occur. I was curious. I noticed that in some of your standards, you have quality levels, and those look really interesting. And so I was wanting to understand a little bit more about those. The ABCD.
Yeah, so that's a national standard. It's an Australian standard around subsurface engineering as part 1 and part 2. Part 1 absolutely relates to those quality standards around locates and the quality of information that we're sharing, so it sets an understanding. So the baseline is quality level D. And look, and I'm a bit cheeky in saying that quality level D means we don't really know where it is. It's the lowest quality plan. It's indicative only. We know it's somewhere in this vicinity, and it's baseline information. If we then move up to quality level C, I call that it could be here. We think, based on some of the street furniture and positioning and geospatial referencing, it could be over here. Then we go up to quality level B, and we go that we're bloody sure it's here. So we've done some locating, we've geo-referenced it. Our GIS is up to date. The locators have been out. The engineers have checked. We're bloody sure it could be here. And then when we get to quality level A, we've potholed. We've sited the asset. We are absolutely sure it's here on the day, and we're good to go. We can dig safely.
Wow, that is phenomenal. I like how that's tiered out and really gives more context about where those utilities are and having more of that assurance. I think that's a brilliant thing to have.
Going back to when the person is digging and everything, it's located in the mark. When a damage happens or an emergency, what's the protocol in Australia? I mean, do you get to actually talk to someone, or still an online service type of thing?
No, so in our information packs, when we send them through, we actually provide the appropriate contact details for each of our utility members, including emergency contact, so that if something happens on site, that call can be made. Look, sometimes people do the wrong thing, and they like to pretend they didn't, and they disappear into the sunset.
That's everyone in the world.
And for our members on that side, we capture all of the information around who submitted that job request. So phone numbers, emails, we have full history of all of the searches that are ever done over a 7-year period. So from our members' point of view, they can jump into our system, do an audit of the area and grab those contacts so they can investigate. If it's of a serious nature, our regulators do get involved. So our work health and safety regulators or the energy office regulators in each state will absolutely go out on site and do investigations. So it is a real collaborative approach here in Australia that, all of the information is shared really transparently across the industry, and to allow us, if something goes wrong, we want to get out there, to support and correct and help make sure that we get everything rectified as quickly as we can, but also to then help ensure that as an industry, we learn from that. So a bit like your dirt report there, we collect damage data here in Australia. We collate that. We've got a heat map that gets shared with industry that shows the hotspots. We're learning from those trends. We do the economic analysis. We published research last year that said damages in Australia are costing us roughly $5 billion a year to the taxpayer. So how as an industry are we going to fix that? How are we going to address that? And we're leaning into more safety-based research around root cause analysis. Because one of the things it sounds great that we've got this back-end system, but we're still sending paper-based plans. We live in a digital world.
Yeah.
And one of the things I'm quite passionate about here in Australia, and we are launching the second pilot this year, is to move to a fully interactive digital platform with real-time data that's fully interactive. So as a contractor, you could log into the BYDA digital portal and see instantly what assets are present on your job site, that you can then download that as a CAD file and geospatial data to feed into your own systems.
Of the underground?
Absolutely, that's the goal. So
Cool.
we're 2D at the moment, but our aim is to get to 3D. And part of that is also so that when contractors are out on site, or our locating community is out on site and says, hey, utility owner, you've told us that your pipe's on the right-hand side of the street. It's actually on the left-hand side of the street. I'm sure that never happens in America. I'm sure you've got this nailed. Utilities are absolutely always where we say they are. It's on the left-hand side of the street. What our goal is for BYDA is we're going to start to ingest that data into our digital platform and create almost like a community-led correction, so that over time, as a country, a national platform, we have the best quality data we can have. So we want to move to it. We want to be bloody sure it's there every time, not just some of the time, and have that as our like a fully digital backbone that all of the country can utilize.
So you will need a huge collaboration from everybody, from all the stakeholders.
Yeah, so we're working with our members now for our pilots. So we're going to be running our pilots in Sydney and Brisbane and in Perth over in the West. Where we're running that, it's our second pilot to confirm functionality for our users, to make sure the look and feel is right for our contracting community, that the way it works meets their needs. We've hardened our cybersecurity. It's built to best practice. It's built to the world's best cyber protocols in terms of protecting our members' data. So we are working. It is an industry-led platform built by industry for industry, and I'm determined that it's going to be the world's best.
Wow, that's amazing.
I like that.
You guys have a good culture. We're talking about damage report in a lot throughout the year, right? But do people actually go and report the damage? Like you guys have to, when an excavator comes into the dig site, okay, there's a damage here, then the second person who's actually reports it.
I like to think here, like nobody wakes up in the morning on a Friday morning and goes, you know what I'd really love to do today? I'd love to hit an electricity cable. Like, wow, what a way to start my weekend. How amazing would that be? So I think here in Australia, like we have a great culture of industry wants to do their best. We have a really great culture of protecting our mates. Like when we go to work, we want to make sure we go home safe. We want to make sure our mates go home safe. So I think that sets a great baseline culture to start with. And then in terms of our contracting operators, like the safety culture here in Australia is rigorous. They really do aim to protect their people and they want their jobs to run on time. So we have a great culture to start with. And do I think people report? I think 9 times out of 10, absolutely, because either they know they're going to disrupt the community, they know that they need someone out there to get that fixed so that we can keep our homes online. So reporting culture is very strong. That's not to say that 1 time out of 10, we have somebody that's like, run away down the street, we'll pretend that never happened. But 9 times out of 10, I think our culture is very good. I think, we do put safety first. We want to go home safe. We want our mates to go home safe.
Right. And one of our big things is we want to see everywhere develop a great damage prevention and safety culture where we can all pretty much be on the same page, very much like how you were describing. And I was curious, what would you say would be a great outreach for cultivating more of that culture or really getting more individuals involved?
Yeah, I think when I first came into the organization, so a little bit of history before you did, we did used to be 7 separate organizations, a bit like how you guys run in the States, with every state being individual. And part of the remit to creating what I think is a unified message was us being a unified organization. So us merging our 7 state businesses into one was critical in us setting one message, one goal. And that's allowed us to really reach out consistently around the country. The other challenge we had when I first came into the organization is that the utilities were probably a little bit disconnected from the realities of work. So we have a saying here in Australia, there's work as imagined versus work as done. And the whole process around safe digging in terms of the referrals or the locate process in the utilities mind had been disconnected from what the pressures that we were seeing out on site. So I really felt like our role was to bring those voices together and actually have conversations around, well, how do we create a system that actually meets the needs of industry? And that's really what gave birth to our digital platform around, well, this is how industry actually works. No one works off paper anymore. We all work off our tablet. We all work off our phone. Yeah. And so, is sending paper plans really the right way to support efficiencies and safety? And I will absolutely argue no every time. We need to visualize risk. We need to make it easy to understand. We need to support and empower people to do the right thing. So I think having conversations is really important. And actually, I get out on site just as often as my team. I love getting out, putting steel caps on and being out and talking to understand what's going on out there. So I can then communicate that back up into the C-suite and to the, around the government agencies around the place and say, hey, we've got to do better here. We aren't perfect and there's always going to be room to be better. And I just think, let's just be honest about it. Let's not sugarcoat it. Let's not pretend or high five each other. Let's really talk about what's going wrong and let's make sure all the voices are at the table to build a safer future.
I mean, it takes a whole village, right?
It does, right?
It does.
And we talked with Sam Hall with CGA recently, and it was very much that same ideology, which is great to see that there's that it's common goal and understanding that communication is really the big player in a lot of this, and making sure that there's communication
and culture at work, at workplaces, right? That the boss understands the worker and the worker understands the boss, and there's there's respect and be able to speak up when it comes to safety or when something is not going the right way. Because a lot of the things, at least here in the US, I could say there's language barrier included. A lot of workers are Spanish speakers, so they might not understand some of the safety protocols. So they're afraid to talk, to speak up, and sometimes that needs to be kind of clear up, and having a boss or whoever's a supervisor to be able to, hey, I got you, let me help you, so you can do the job right, and you can be safe at the end of the day. I think sometimes the message gets lost is because people just want to get the job done on time, but no, they're not thinking about what's most important, what's people's life at the end of the day.
Look, time and pressures exist in every industry, and we have to acknowledge that. And I think the flip side of communication is education. And so here in Australia, we've just, as a collective national industry, signed off on an apprenticeship for locating. We are going to have a formal apprenticeship for locating released back out into the industry. It's with our Federal Minister for Education to sign off on. But that is an industry first here to say, hey, we recognize the importance of locating and the critical role they play. Let's recognize them as a professional career path and make sure we've got a consistent apprenticeship running out nationally. And as part of that, we also said, well, hey, in terms of our excavating community and our civil contractors, we've now written 2 national units of competency around safe excavation and utilities that are explicitly around, if you're working in construction or building or civil or plumbing or electrical, we want to empower you with the right skills from day one of your career. And, again, I think that's really important around it. It takes a lot of effort, and it's not an easy job to get those things across the line. But again, if you're putting people first, the best way to create a safe culture is to empower people to understand what the risks are and empower them to say no and empower them to speak up, because they understand and they've got that confidence in themselves around the work that they do. So I'm really passionate around, there's not one answer to creating, zero damage, zero harm, zero disruption. It's a pillar around good communication, good regulation, good information, and great education. You get those 4 things right, you're going to see things change. And I think internationally, we could all do better at that.
I mean, I believe that, like you said, mistakes are going to happen, right? People are probably going to headlines eventually. every month, every week.
I mean,
but the things learning from that, and that comes from education.
Yeah.
Absolutely. And I think conversations like this are really important. Like, we are an international community. Our excavators dig the same kind of holes that your excavators do. It's still pipe and ground. Ours are not magical unicorns. They're still pit and pipe, same as what you guys experienced there. And I think as an international community, if we shared learnings and really shared different experiences, I think we can create a global uplift in safety.
100%.
And I think we actually have a moral obligation to do that.
Oh,
I agree.
Mel, do you? Sorry, one last question I have for Mel. Do you, in your years of experience, or at least what you've seen from BYDA, do you guys kind of pick on things that other organizations across the world are doing, like similar to A11s or United Kingdom Ellis Bud, or I don't know what other countries do in like France or Spain or Canada? Well, Canada is similar to us. But do you, no, in terms of the system?
In terms of the system.
And they speak English too.
Yeah. Well, I mean,
do you guys probably have learned stuff from other countries?
Yes, I was really lucky. I've attended Mike Sullivan's USP safety conference 2 years ago. I was at CGA last year.
Oh, nice.
Actually spoke. I'm heading to Singapore at the end of this month to talk about there.
Awesome.
So I do absolutely think we have to learn from what's going on around the world. My keen interest at the moment is in Europe because they have become digital natives in this space. So if you look at what the UK is doing in terms of the National Utility Underground Asset Register, it's fully digital. They're moving to that interactive world. France has done the same. The Netherlands, Japan, Hong Kong, Singapore, they're moving into a digital first approach and working towards, if we give the best data we can at the very beginning, we're going to see better outcomes when it comes to construction. Because I think what we do have to challenge ourselves a little bit is safety doesn't start and end when the excavator's on site. It actually starts, years back when those projects are being designed, when there's early design work going on, when there's early risk assessment and feasibility. And so we actually have to intervene and come back here at this process and say, hey, engineer, you need to be aware that this is a spicy job site. I use spicy to describe assets. Spicy. You've got a high pressure gas main running through there. You've got high voltage electricity overhead. We've got water mains. Like, we need to be right at the beginning of a project and intervening and creating safety and awareness here. Because if we get it right there, the guys and girls breaking ground will actually have a much easier time of it. We shouldn't be pushing all the risk profile down to when we're actually breaking ground. We want to have it in every step of the way of that job site.
Perfect.
Yeah.
That was good.
That was such a good question. I had to let it slide.
Yeah, no, that's what I was going to. I know I was kind of like circling around a little, but that was my whole point.
Yeah.
No, that was great.
Singapore,
I will
Singapore's
flag
been
one
great.
thing we do different here as well. And it was interesting when I've been to Canada and the US is your overhead. So we actually do overhead safety as part of Before You Dig. So we actually capture all of our overhead assets here in Australia. It's in a digital format. We've got an app so you can look at your street address and see what the poles are and what the voltages are. So we do that also for planning, because those excavators, like, they lift those buckets up. So we need to A for that, but also high loads and trucks and all of that space that goes onto a job site. We think overhead safety is just as critical as it is for underground. And we need to actually protect the whole of infrastructure. And so we've been quite passionate around really uplifting our education awareness into that overhead space, which is what Look Up and Live does, that yellow symbol behind me. If you Google Look Up and Live, it's got its own site. So, and even when we push out our underground plans, we actually, those two systems talk to each other, and we grab the screenshot of the overhead plan and we push it out with our underground plan. So you actually get everything on that job site in one go so that you can work safe.
That is awesome.
It's so funny, Mel, because I've kind of done some research on, for example, I'm from South America. I'm from Venezuela, so I'm way far. And for example, I was looking for Brazil, and a lot of this, I know my country doesn't have like an A11 or anything similar, but a lot of the companies that do when they do their digging or excavation, they just have their own personnel to locate. They don't have a centralized or anything like that. So it's kind of interesting how South America is different from North and obviously across the world. There's not like a unified, like, standardized, like, hey, what you need to do before you actually start digging.
A single system.
Single system.
Right.
Or at least like, like international standards, which, I mean, yours are similar to ours and are similar to Canada and United Kingdom, but we still have that.
We have some
we still have calling an agent, or you can also submit the ticket online, both ways. But we still have that human element in our system.
Yeah.
Well, and I think a lot of that does come down to just the locality and what is required by states in the U.S. or the provinces in Canada. And I think that just because there's a lot of different regulatory systems at play, that probably has a lot to do with it. But I think that there's definitely a potential future. I mean, especially since we're all coming together and going to these different events and speaking all around the world to really make those connections and the bridges of those policies and procedures. I think there's a great chance.
If I get the chance to go back to Venezuela, I probably will like implement the whole F1 system one day. One day I will go back. One day I will go back.
That's right. So I'm more than happy to show the US our digital platform. As I said, I would love to like convert you to a digital first approach rather than a call center approach. So
I would
happy to share my secrets with you.
It would take a lot of effort in years, because I mean it's just pretty much the 50 states, 49 states that have they do it through a call center, right? I mean, the majority
on the statistics.
I would say the majority of the country does 811 call center. But yeah, I mean, it would be a big shift if that ever happens.
You guys could be the first. We could get you there first, and you could lead the way.
I will probably have to pitch that to the director of operations.
That's above. But I think that'd be a great conversation to have. I think that
and, things change. I'm going to the CGA conference in April, so it will be my first. So I'm gonna get to learn from different peers and people on the higher level. So I'm interested to see what they get to say that conference. But yeah, no, I'm really amazed how really things are different from one another.
It's really cool. It's good to know.
Look, I think it shows that there's lots of opportunity for all of us to continue to push the boundaries. I think one of the biggest challenges for industry, and particularly in this space, like air utilities don't love change, and I think that's a global phenomenon. I don't think that's unique to Australia.
Right.
But also, again, we do tend to get a little comfortable with the status quo. Like we do tend to let ourselves go, but this is the way it's always been done. And I think that's a global challenge for all of us working in this space, to actually take a step back and go, if we had to start again, what would we do differently? Would we engineer the system today if for whatever reason we had to start again? And I think it's really important for leadership across all of our spaces to say, just because we've always done it doesn't mean we always have to. And be brave enough to ask the questions, right? We have to be brave enough to go, the world's changing, technology's changing, the industry's changing. Do we need to change?
But I mean, I agree with you. I mean, people have, and this is just outside of the work life. I mean, it's hard to change.
No one loves it. But I would also argue nothing worthwhile doing is ever easy, right? Nothing worthwhile is ever easy.
But sometimes changes are necessary. Sometimes you need to change to actually make a difference.
Well, and that's adaptive behavior to survive.
And again, changes comes with also, again, I will say this, with education. You want to change something, you have to find those education tools to make that transition easier. So, but no, I mean, great information, Mel. I really appreciate all.
I think it's
phenomenal. Look, I love throwing a few challenging questions out there.
No, we're here for it. We love it.
I'm about to turn into my first year here at OK11. He's about to turn 6 months in May. So probably in 2 or 3 years, I'll probably start raising my hand. Hey, I have an idea. I think we should probably transition to this and this and this. I'm still like a little puppy.
Lady from Australia back.
I talked to Mell Greenall, and she said that maybe we should try this. But no, that's amazing. Do you have any other last questions?
I think I have just one last one, and it's kind of our standard wrap-up question, which is, in your opinion, Mel,
Mhm.
What is the most important part or step to damage prevention?
Tricky question.
Yeah.
It is a tricky question because I don't think it's just one thing. But if I was to say, what are we prioritizing here in Australia, because we genuinely believe it will make a difference, is that digital data. We absolutely believe if we give really good information, good, accurate location data to every contractor out there at the beginning of their jobs, we're going to see better projects designed. We're going to get better safety protocols inbuilt. And when it comes to our guys and girls on shovels, they're going to have safer outcomes at the end of the day. I think we have to be more transparent in sharing location data. It is not secret squirrel. We all know what's running down the street. So,
Right.
so we have to be better. And that is always my challenge to the utilities is, right, why have we normalized sending the lowest quality data as risk prevention? What we need to be sending is the best quality data upfront at the start so everybody can interpret the risk and everybody can make better decisions every step of the way.
That was
Perfect.
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 Beautiful. I love it.
Mel, I mean, you pretty much
Knocked it out of the park.
Yeah, you gave us all
Absolutely.
great information, good things to learn too, as well.
Yeah.
From the other side of the world. Mell Greenall. I was gonna pronounce it different, but thank you.
Crazy lady from Australia. Just call me the
yeah.
crazy lady. It's okay.
Yeah, Mell Greenall, CEO of BYDA. Before you dig Australia, thank you so much for being here with us today. We really appreciate it for all the information and that great conversation.
Thanks so much, team. Love being here.